Hello, alumni. We'll get started in just a minute. We'll let everyone come into the room and then I'll start the festivities. Alrighty, I'm going to get started. It's 12:16. Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Cunningham. I am the Associate VP for Alumni Relations here at Lehigh. And I'm really excited today to host this webinar about Lehigh 360. And that's all I'll say about it because Bill and Michelle will take you through what their program looks like and how you can get involved. Just a little choreography before we get going. We are recording this, so you have to jump off early. You can go back and watch the parts that you missed, or if you want to send it to a friend, you can do that. I think I have to say that legally too, that we're recording per the FBI. So we're going to hear from Michelle and Bill, and then offer time for you to ask questions. And the way you're going to do that is through the chat. You can either include everyone on the call in the chat or just the panelists. I will look at your questions and read them aloud to Michelle and Bill so they can focus on their answers. Just a little bit about Bill and Michelle before we get started. Bill was named Assistant Vice Provost for Experiential Learning Programs in 2022. He was in the Office of Creative Inquiry before that. He's got a Ph.D. in theater and drama from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. But I don't know you to be a super dramatic guy, which is
you're just not around me at the right times.
And he's been an adjunct professor at Cedar Crest in the Department of Theater or Performing Arts, and also here at Lehigh. And Michelle has been the program manager for Lehigh 360 for just about a year, maybe less than a year, and has already done so much for the program. We work with her quite a bit with the Soaring Together program. And she's got a BS from Vanderbilt in Tennessee and a concentration in international leadership and development, and is currently working on becoming an alum, getting her MBA here at Lehigh. So I will let you two share your presentation and get started.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Jennifer, and thanks to everyone for being here. We're really excited to talk about Lehigh 360, and I'm really excited to be here with my wonderful colleague, Michelle. I'm going to get things going here, and then we'll let Michelle talk a little bit about some of the details of the program, and we'll make this drama-free, hopefully. That's the goal. So Lehigh 360, what is it? It is an initiative that is being spearheaded by the Office of Creative Inquiry. We are initiating this as a way to, primarily the goal is to make sure that every Lehigh student has access to all of the signature high impact programs that we have here at this remarkable university. So what does that practically mean? And where did this idea come from? And what is the need that we're trying to fill? So this idea actually started being talked about back in 2017 when the Office of Creative Inquiry was created here at Lehigh. And the mandate for the Office of Creative Inquiry, such as it was to take a look and developing some university-wide programming for students to engage in really an open-ended, high-impact, interdisciplinary, high-level research and engagement work. When the university hired Kanjan Mehta as the inaugural vice provost for creative inquiry, he brought his background in sustainable development, humanitarian engineering, and really global impact to the equation. So the Office of Creative Inquiry started as a way to help all Lehigh students really find their passions and find ways to apply and connect those passions to the possibilities while here at Lehigh and also beyond, and the kinds of career pathways that they might not have otherwise been exposed to. And the way that they do that is by engaging in some of the really unique high impact programs that are here at Lehigh University. But as we started talking to students and various stakeholders around campus, and we convened a whole bunch of conversations with program directors, administrators, deans, senior leaders, students of undergraduates and graduate students, alumni. We started finding some common themes, and those common themes really related to the fact that many students just didn't know where to go to find out what kinds of programs and opportunities were available to them at Lehigh. And the ones that were getting involved in these programs were really finding out through word of mouth. They happened to be in the right room with the right professor when they were talking about, oh, there's this program, there's this opportunity that Lehigh has. Or they were roommates with somebody who did a program and they said, well, that sounds great, I'll do that program. And that's all well and good. But of course, we decided that's no way to make sure that every Lehigh student is building the kind of skills and mindsets that we want them to build to be truly successful, truly game changers, as we know our alumni already are, but to really compete in this 21st century landscape, a really competitive job market. So we started exploring this idea of creating really a one-stop shop. And pre-COVID, the idea revolved around the potential for a physical space on campus, kind of a physical hub, a place where students could go, hang out, get one-to-one advising, get sort of peer mentoring, as well as an online platform where students could find information about all of these programs, apply to them, talk to somebody about them, know who to contact, know how to connect with the programs. And then also building a peer mentoring network of students that had been through these programs and then wanted to sort of give back to students coming up behind them and give them their experiences and tell them what they learned and what they gained. And of course, that helps those students process and reflect the kinds of skills and mindsets that they built from these high impact programs and helps the students coming up behind them. So again, sort of word of mouth, but in a more structured way and in a more university-wide way. So that was sort of where our thinking was. And then, of course, the pandemic happened, lots of things slowed down, everybody went online, things sort of fell onto the back burner in terms of Lehigh 360. And then once we came out of that a couple of years ago, got back to regular operations and all these programs really resumed operations, we started revisiting this. And then, so the Office of Creative Inquiry, we decided we needed a dedicated human to really get this initiative off the ground, to build the kind of online platform that we need to build, and to think about the ways that we can most effectively connect our students with different programs. So in January 2023, we were very fortunate to hire Michelle as our first program manager for Lehigh 360, and she and I to have been hitting the ground running for the last 16, 18 months. And she's going to show you some of what we've built so far, but we've really tried to re-engage a lot of the stakeholders and really do a complete mapping of what programs exist here and what opportunities are available to students and why. So next slide, Michelle. So here is a map. It is not necessarily a finished product. It is not carved in stone, but this is the map as it currently exists of the high impact programs that we've identified. And I'm going to talk here in just a minute about how we define a high impact program and what that really means. But essentially, we put all of these programs into 9 different buckets, as you see here, as a way to sort of categorize them. But of course, many of these opportunities cross over between all of these different categories. But you've got creative inquiry opportunities, global cross-cultural opportunities, research, peer mentoring, entrepreneurship, leadership development and teaching, work integrated learning, so really career preparatory opportunities, community engagement opportunities, and then finally arts. Those were the divisions that we decided to create in order to make some sense of all of these programs and to kind of help students guide to the different areas of programming that they might want to participate in, and for a student to be able to say, okay, well, I did this study abroad experience, but now I really want to work on, more skills here in local communities, or I want to work on mentoring my peers, or, so we can guide them to sort of to experiences like that. A lot of students at Lehigh participate in arts programs, even though they're not theater or music majors. But there are a lot of opportunities there for students to develop their identities, to develop their voices, to develop their, their confidence, and to develop, of course, their creative skills and utilize those creative skills. So lots of different skills that get built up through all these programs. But this is the map, and this is kind of our guidepost for now in terms of what we're trying to build. Next slide. So what is high impact program? As I said, we're looking at this as, obviously every experience at Lehigh is high impact in some way, right? The lectures in the classroom, to the clubs and organizations, to the volunteer opportunities, to all of it, right? So there's lots of high impact opportunities. There's lots of opportunities for students. Students are constantly building new skills and mindsets as they progress through Lehigh. But what we're looking at are the kinds of programs that, number one, provide students with sort of deeper, longer term forms of engagement. So in other words, these are not sort of, one-day volunteer opportunities or service opportunities. These are longer term commitments, in some cases, multiple semesters. And in some cases, entire summers. So there's time, there's effort, there's sort of capital spent by students in order to participate in these opportunities. Also, these opportunities create meaningful interactions between faculty members and staff members and students, right? So there's opportunities for students to be really collaborative with folks that otherwise in other areas of the university might exist on sort of a hierarchy, right? They sort of have to do what the professor says. Well, in these kinds of programs, these are the kinds of programs where the professor doesn't necessarily have all the answers that they're going to give you. So you have to sort of work it out together and collaborate and have those kinds of opportunities. Diversity is a huge thing. So all of these programs offer students opportunities to collaborate with people from diverse backgrounds. And of course, being at Lehigh gives them that opportunity as well. But these are concentrated versions of that. They get feedback and reflection, and there is reflection that the programs, reflection opportunities that the programs create. So students sort of have to determine, how are they going to talk about what they participated in? How are they going to put it on their resume? What are they going to say about the kinds of new mindsets that they develop, the new knowledge that they gain, the new practices that they put into place? And so there's that reflection piece, that integrative learning piece of the experiences there. So an analogy that I like to use, and this is not a real world example, but a sort of hypothetical example, and in term to illustrate the way that we think about this, you can think about a student who, and we have these opportunities at Lehigh through our community service office. Students can go in to the local middle school and tutor students after school in a homework club. Wonderful opportunities and beneficial for the community, beneficial for the students, certainly beneficial for Lehigh to get our students out there in the community. They go, they spend some afternoons. They do that. That's great. But then there's a next level of participation in that type of opportunity, and that's where maybe a student goes and they sort of are running their own tutoring program, or they get some, they can sort of manage other tutors, right? They become more veteran and they become more experienced, and they can sort of oversee others coming up behind them and kind of help guide them and be that sort of guide and mentor. And that's a wonderful experience as well. But then there's a sort of third level of engagement where maybe a student gets to create their own tutoring program, and they get to look at what is, and they get to think about what the possibilities are for improving how this works. And they get to use their creative input. They get to use all parts of themselves and bring their passions to bear on creating something entirely new. And that's the level we want our Lehigh students to get to. And that goes to, actually, next slide, Michelle. That goes to all of the ways that high impact opportunities benefit students. And to many of you, I'm sure this is pretty familiar territory. If you think about this at all, or think about education, we all hear about how high impact opportunities help students develop their critical thinking skills. They help them develop their communication skills. All of the kinds of competencies and skill sets that the world is telling us all students, all college graduates need to have in order to be successful in the world going forward. Yes, they need to have technical skills in whatever field they study, but they also need to be systems thinkers. They need to be analytical thinkers. They need to have, of course, technological literacy and cultural literacy. They need to be curious. And they need to have that lifelong learning mentality, and they need to be resilient. All of those familiar things. And that's what we feel like these programs all provide students in some way, shape, or form to build up those skills and competencies. And then we know from research that high impact opportunities lead to higher GPAs, higher retention, which is important to any university, certainly important to Lehigh. We want our retention to be 100%. It's not 100%, it's pretty close, but we want to make sure that the students that come here find their place, find their why here at Lehigh, and they find the place where they can really leverage the skills that they have and the skills that they want to build. So all of these benefits to the opportunities, and all of this aligns with Lehigh's strategic plan, right? I'm sure you're all familiar with our new strategic plan, or relatively new, inspiring the future makers, right? And the three tenets of that plan, the three real primary visionary goals, are for Lehigh students to make it new, in other words, to create, to make something that didn't exist before, to innovate, make a difference, have an impact in the world, really impact a community or an individual, or the world at large, and then make it together. So we want to create opportunities for them to collaborate with others. And those are the three kind of guiding goalposts of the strategic plan in of the kinds of experiences that we want our Lehigh students to have. So that's the big picture of Lehigh 360. And what we're after here is really a way for students to have full access to all of the opportunities available to them, and to help guide them through which opportunities are best for them, which opportunities are right for them, and which opportunities can really help them accelerate along their journey. So in terms of how we do that, I'm going to pass it over to Michelle and to talk through some of those details.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bill. Okay, yeah, so a lot of this is just going to go a little bit deeper. So what Bill was just explaining, we know there is strong research globally that high impact programs lead to strong student outcomes. And then we also know that nice colorful image, right? That one of the strengths of Lehigh is that we already offer a strong portfolio of these high impact programs. But what's interesting is that when we've shown that those 9 different categories of opportunities, with about 50 opportunities to most students, faculty, and staff, the reaction has been like, we don't know half of these, right? And so that decentralization of information is one of the big challenges. So these are the questions that are really guiding our work. How do we ensure that every Lehigh student can have one of these high impact opportunities during their time here? And then how do we capture the data, right, of that experience, and also enhance the student's experience beyond just that, one opportunity to go on and do more, or to highlight their work. So as we were having these conversations and building relationships and trying to dig deeper into what are the real barriers here, we saw 3 big gaps. The first one is this access to information, right? That students don't know what is available to them, why it's important to apply and participate in some of these things, when the deadlines are, how to fund these types of opportunities. All of these really important pieces of information are living on lots of different websites and lots of different social media, and are not living on all in one place. The other thing we heard a lot is that many of these high impact programs are extremely selective. And so there's an intense application process to get into the program, but there's not a lot of advising for students on how to get there, right? Or how to best fill out the application, or what they need to do first to be able to be best prepared for these incredible opportunities. And so this is about really access to information for advisors, both formal and informal, right? That people who are bumping up with students, right, know all of the different opportunities that are available. And then the last one is really kind of data centric. Of right now, we as a university do not know which students have done which of these opportunities with which funding. We don't have that data tracked. And so that's a big gap that we would love to fill with Lehigh 360, to be able to tell the incredible success stories that we all know anecdotally, right? But to be able to really have data that proves that here at Lehigh, we're seeing the same outcomes from these high impact opportunities that the globe is seeing. And then this is just the mentality shift that we're looking to foster with Lehigh 360. So we see a lot of students who say, these opportunities aren't for me. I have enough going on in the classroom, and I'm working 2 jobs, to afford my education. These opportunities are not for me. Then we have other students who do, 15 of these opportunities and are trying to do them all at the same time. And we really want to help both ends of that spectrum get to intentional, aligned engagement, because as you saw those incredible positive outcomes, we don't want any student to not be able to have one of these experiences. But we also want students to be intentional about what they're engaging in. And then shifting from the question of what company do I want to work for towards like what big world problem do I want to solve, right? And like what are the tools and the resources and the skills that I need to be able to work towards that? So that's some of the shift that we're looking to create as well. So one of the biggest things that we've done so far is really trying to tackle that access to information problem. So we had a website, and then in this past October, we launched this searchable database. And I will put this in the chat as well so that you all can access that. What this does is it takes the majority of those programs and allows students to search by keywords, by different opportunity type, by whether an opportunity is in the spring semester, the fall semester, the summer, if there's any eligibility criteria. And one of the most popular things that students are able to search by is upcoming deadlines. So I'm just going to click out of here real fast so that I can show you how this works. So this is the database, and you can see you can also search by whether work study is offered for an opportunity or academic credit is offered. But I just wanted to show you this. This is one of the ways that we've heard our students are using this the most, is to be able to see what are the upcoming deadlines, right? And so they can see both things that they want to apply for immediately, but also, okay, I know that Lehigh Silicon Valley, right? The deadline is usually in October. So if I want to look at that for a future year, I know to kind of keep that on my radar. And then when we click into one of these programs, it has some additional information, the website, the application link, and who to get in contact with if you have any questions. So, we really designed this with students in mind, but have seen it be really effective for advisors, to have the right information to be able to guide students. But then when we were thinking about alumni, right, if there are some of these programs that you're not familiar with or that you're alumni of and really want to get involved with, that this is a great place to be able to kind of see everything that's happening in this high impact area here at Lehigh. The goal, that was kind of like 1.0 technology solution. The goal is to be able to launch a platform that will operate somewhat similar to Netflix, right? We'll have some machine learning AI component that will be able to recommend certain opportunities to students. So this is just one example, right? If you have a student who has done an internship in Jordan, through one of our programs, that when they are finished that internship, they would come back and enter that into the platform, and the platform would say, great, and here are some next steps you could do to go deeper into that experience or to diversify it, but also would give opportunities for students to highlight the incredible outcomes of their experiences, right? So what conferences can they apply for? What papers can they write? What awards can they apply for? Trying to give this personalized dashboard for students. So this is what we're currently working on, and we'll absolutely keep you posted as we have that accessible, hopefully in the next couple of months. And then this is just an example, right, of how we're using keywords to help students find opportunities. So, if a student has a specific interest, right, they can type that into the keyword bar and get pointed in the direction of an opportunity that might align with that interest. So it's just, the kind of the first level of trying to make these recommendations to students. And I think I'm passing it back to Bill.
Yeah, so we'll go through this last part quickly, and then we'll get to some time for Q&A. So one of the new programs that we piloted recently and that we're planning to expand and scale up is we're calling it Accelerate X. And Accelerate X is an umbrella for some non-credit programs, 2 to 3 week programs that take place over that long winter break between semesters and also during the summer months. That help students immerse themselves in some topic or some area or some skill area that they want to build or what have you. And so we're building programming that can be offered by entities from all over the university to do sort of quick hits of helping students, decide whether or not they're really passionate about a certain thing, or whether they really want to take a deep dive into it, and whether they want to go further, and whether they want to think about, broader opportunities. So we're really trying to provide some of these, nimble programs during that time when there's typically not much else of that sort going on. So next slide. We did a pilot version of this. Our first one was this last month, and 2 months ago now, January, it's March. And this was in collaboration with the Lehigh University Design Labs. And they ran what they called a Maker Boot Camp. For 2.5 weeks, there were 11 students that came in from all different majors who wanted to either expand their skills or learn the skills of making, prototyping, using equipment to bring ideas into physical reality. And so these students had 2.5 weeks to do nothing but this. And the results were frankly pretty remarkable. We did some data collection on this group. We polled them pre-program and post-program and during the program, and we did some interactive programming with them while they were in the midst of doing all of this technical skill building and making. And they were so incredibly appreciative, and they took so much advantage of the opportunity to really immerse themselves in something. And they all learned so many new skills. They all learned, how to make specific things, and how to then also bring their creativity to bear to make really complex things. And they weren't all successful, but the journey was what mattered, right? And so really successful pilot version of this. And so we're going to continue to move on with this next winter. We're going to have hopefully multiple Accelerate X programs of all different stripes. And the Maker Bootcamp plans to run again for incoming first-year students this coming summer. So we're really excited about that as well. Just a way to expand the opportunities at Lehigh beyond the classroom. So next slide, and this gets us to how can you be involved? And we can talk more about this in the Q&A, but this QR code will take you to a donation page if that's how you want to get involved. That can allow you to donate to one of these high impact programs. There are many of the programs represented in that list. And then also we're looking to engage with alumni on a whole bunch of different levels to connect our alumni with the skills they can bring to students. We want to offer, again, in the Accelerate X format, or even in a shorter format, like a 1-day or half-day, or even 2-hour workshop on things like public speaking, negotiation, cross-cultural leadership, how to advocate, right? These are just some ideas, grant writing skills, all the kinds of things that we want them to have in their toolkit. And the things that can help them, again, go deeper into some of these engagement opportunities. So lots of different ways to get involved, and we can talk through some of that more specifically. Michelle and I's email addresses are there. And then finally, last slide, we're hoping to help students find their whys. So thank you very much.
All righty, fantastic. Bill, when you just said find their whys, I thought you said find their wives. Well, we like that too, because then they become Lehigh couples.
Whatever ancillary benefits might happen, that's, that happens.
So we do have a couple questions already. Mark Shiner's asking whether the Lehigh Launch program, that's the first semester before they even move into campus, they go away for a semester. Does that fall under you?
So it's a great question. We'd love the Lehigh Launch program. Right now, we're not putting it in the Lehigh 360 bucket. I think only because it's a specific opportunity for first-year students, and for that entire semester. I mean, it certainly does fit in the Lehigh 360 realm, in the sense that it's a very immersive, high-impact opportunity for students. But it's, I think we want to sort of put things in here that are accessible to students throughout their time at Lehigh, throughout their journey at Lehigh. That said, one of the things that we will be doing, and we started this in the last year, is partnering with Lehigh Launch to consider these Accelerate X programs as opportunities for the students who are away for their first semester, not on campus for that first semester, coming back from Lehigh Launch. Prior to the second semester, they can come back a little early and do something with other Lehigh students and really get immersed in just being on the campus before they jump into that in their second semester. And we think that's potentially a great opportunity there. So that's a little bit of a crossover with Lehigh Launch, but right now, yeah, so we're not putting it in the Lehigh 360 bucket.
Right, right. Well, and to be clear, you don't run all these programs yourselves. You're sort of the aggregator. So
Correct.
you're not doing all the hands-on work all the time. But
exactly, we definitely do not. We are the conveners. I mean, Michelle and I both are very involved in, since we work through the Office of Creative Inquiry, we're very involved in those programs as the other parts of our job.
Yeah.
But in terms of Lehigh 360, yeah, this is a way to gather all of the opportunities together.
Great. Sandra Denton is asking how this program fits in with Lehigh's blueprint with the LU in capital. So maybe explain what blueprint is and then talk about that.
Yeah, sure. Now we work closely with the Office of First Year Experience and the great team there, Steph and Nicole. It fits. I think that we absolutely are trying to bring the language of Lehigh 360 and Blueprint kind of as close together as possible. So Blueprint is a set of 5 foundations, right? That a set of skills for all students, for every Lehigh student to have, right, throughout their time here. And Blueprint really is launching them through their first semester through orientation and then through meetings with faculty and staff who serve as mentors for students, to really think about community here at Lehigh and how they interact with all of the different opportunities. So we have been working very closely with the Office of First Year Experience and plan to continue to do so to try and see, how can this be a resource that can be added during the Blueprint process. But another, again, area where we see a lot of overlap is in the Accelerate X program as well, right? Of making sure that we're using the language of Blueprint to show students that these are ways, right, to get to those 5 core foundations of what every Lehigh student is, right? And so these are how you leverage these high impact opportunities really to kind of fulfill your Blueprint.
Okay. So attendees, put your questions in the chat here and I will read them out. In the meantime, while they're thinking about that, so my daughter's a senior in high school and is getting, she did well on her tests and whatever. So she's getting all the brochures from all the schools, and interdisciplinary is a word that's tossed around pretty liberally. It seems to be kind of a buzzword these days. And, but this program is actually living it. Can you maybe talk about how this makes Lehigh more competitive, or whether there are other schools that are doing things you're stealing from, or are other schools learning from you? I'm trying to get a sense of the landscape of like interdisciplinary because it sounds good, and interdisciplinary because it's real, like what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I mean, I think, well, first of all, just say, a lot of schools are coming to us to say, how are you doing what you're doing? So we'll pat ourselves on the back there a little bit. Although certainly there are a lot of universities doing, amazing things, providing amazing opportunities for their students, right? So that word interdisciplinary, and that is really a key part of Lehigh's strategic plan. We talk about Lehigh being a radically interdisciplinary place. And I think this is really the front edge of that. In the sense that every one of these programs is bringing together students from all the colleges, all the majors. It doesn't matter what your major is. It doesn't matter what your college is. If you come with the right mindsets, that's what we're trying to create. We're trying to create, mindsets across all Lehigh students, whether you're going to pursue mechanical engineering, whether you pursue English, economics, public health, whatever it may be, whatever that core interest of yours may be. That you as a Lehigh student have opportunities to learn from, learn the ways of thinking, knowing, doing that other disciplines practice on a regular basis. And when you participate in any one of these programs, you're going to have those opportunities on a long-term level. Back to the list of programs. So I'll speak to like the impact fellowship programs through Creative Inquiry. We have about 130 students involved in those programs right now. And I think almost every Lehigh major is represented there. And these are students working on small teams on specific open-ended projects, multi-year projects that are very impact focused and outcomes focused. And so these students have to work together and talk to each other and build teams together. And though that's obviously the skills that we want them to build. So, I think, it's possible. And I think as we first started thinking about Lehigh 360 and looking around the campus and looking at student data that we had, so many students were saying, well, I came, I did my 4 years, I got my degree and I got my, job in my field. And great. Wonderful. Nothing wrong with that. And we're not trying to dissuade from that, but we are trying to say, okay, but while you're doing that, there's so many other different mindsets that you need to build. And one of them is an interdisciplinary mindset. And that goes to cross cultures, countries, communities, learning how to communicate with different people. So I guess I'll just say, that's really the North Star for a lot of this is that radical disciplinarity that Lehigh is talking about in the strategic plan. And I think, our university, what I love about our university is we're size where students can really live that. They don't have to just get siloed in one college or department. They can really branch out and they can talk to and work with all kinds of students.
Right, right. So how does it work with the faculty? Because, can maybe explain the difference between like a class in entrepreneurship or a class in journalism or whatever, where the teacher makes it a group assignment that they have to do. So how do you work with faculty, and is there a healthy competition there for the students' time, or how does it work?
Yeah, well, Michelle, if it's okay, I'll take this one too. So yeah, it's, this is really a transformation in how faculty interact with students, in the sense that, it's that moving from the sage on the stage to the guide on the side, that cliche that's there. But what we really are after there is that faculty bring their expertise to all of these situations, but any of these programs are going to be working in ways where there's not clear pathways, there's not clear answers. Even an expert doesn't necessarily know, okay, where should we go with this? Where should we go to really perfect this thing or make this impact that we want to make? So what it is faculty become sort of side-by-side collaborators with students and external partners and anybody else to kind of fulfill the goals of any of these programs. And so that's where, it's a different relationship with faculty. And I think faculty do, especially Lehigh faculty, who are such amazing teachers and researchers, and keep those roles side by side at all times. They really are eager to work with students in this way. Certainly they are experienced classroom instructors, and they can do, all of the content delivery that those classes do so well. And many of them do experiential things as part of those classes, no question. But this is also, a different mode of interaction, and it really brings faculty and students closer together. I find, and I'm not officially faculty, I'm staff, but I serve in the role of mentor for a couple of projects in our impact fellowship programs, and I can tell you, that first time that you sit with undergraduates and you say, I don't know, that's transformative for them. And I think faculty who experience that say, yeah, there's power in that, because then that brings us all together and to say, okay, well, let's all figure out the answers together with our own unique backgrounds and skill sets.
That's very cool. So Scott Wojciechowski, I can tell that Scotty works on a campus as well. So I was wondering the same thing.
Yes.
How did your aggregator work navigate campus entities who didn't want to be part of this centralized process if they existed?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a large part of what we spent the first 8 months doing was just talking to everyone, right? And understanding from all of these different programs, all the different departments, all the different colleges, what would be useful, right? And I think that that's kind of how we were successful in this, is that we didn't go and say, here's what we're doing, here's how it's going to work, right? We said, what could we actually use, right? As a university, what are the barriers that students are facing? What are the barriers that you as running a program are facing? And how could we, leverage technology to help with that? And so I think that really helped, because it gave people a lot of voice and agency, and why are we doing this and how will it be helpful? And so, of course, we've had, conversations where we had to, explain why this will help with marketing, how it will help reach more students, how it may take some of the lift off of having to do recruitment for opportunities, right? Things like our Office of Fellowship Advising, right? How do we build stronger pipelines to opportunities for students? So, I mean, to be honest with you, where there really isn't a high impact program that isn't represented here. We didn't really get that type of pushback from programs, but I think it's just because we didn't come in with a solution. We came in listening to what all the problems were, and then really worked to figure out, okay, how can we begin to solve some of this and to provide solutions? Yeah, and so there are a few things that we definitely haven't figured out yet. So you'll see, like, study abroad is a big bucket, and we have incredible study abroad opportunities here at Lehigh, but they have their own database. And so at this stage, we haven't put all of the different study abroad opportunities in the Lehigh 360 database. But when we have like the technology solution, the goal is to be able to integrate those databases together. So there are definitely still some steps in this process. But I would say that we really haven't come to a point where someone said it will not be beneficial for us for our program to be included.
That's great. Bill Fowler is asking, the Eckert Scholars Program is high impact for the students taking part, but I don't see it listed here.
Yeah, I'll address that quickly. So we've had actually conversations with the Eckert program leaders about how we can integrate that appropriately into Lehigh 360. It is, again, sort of a specific opportunity, but it is one that students can apply to join while they're here. So I agree. I think it needs to be here, but we need to figure out the right way to frame it in terms of, what is the access point for students in order to participate in Eckert Scholars. But yeah, no question, the Eckert Scholar Program is remarkable and brings in incredible students.
Yeah. Scotty's echoing what I think we're all thinking. Stellar, keep up the great work.
Thank you, Scott.
And Sandra's asking about the Baker Institute for Innovation and how that weaves into this program. And I guess I would also say Lisa Getzler's new role as, I believe, vice provost for
entrepreneurship.
Yeah, right. And how that all weaves in now.
Yeah, so Baker is, and their programs are 100% baked in here, pun intended. The Eureka Venture program is the Hatchery. Those are Baker's two programs. And yeah, so entrepreneurship at Lehigh is, undergoing a little bit of change and expansion, I would say, and in all the best ways. With Lisa Getzler's new role, there's a lot of conversations around, what is entrepreneurship? How do we capture it? And how do we connect students to the right opportunities at the right stages of their development and interest, to the right entrepreneurial programs, so that every Lehigh student can have that sort of entrepreneurial mindset coming, graduating from Lehigh. So that's what we want. And so, yeah, I would say that's the bucket here that might be, apt to undergo the biggest changes over the next, few months and years as we develop this.
Yeah. And I think it's a testament to the Baker Institute and Lisa's work, and then also Kanjan's work, and the Office of International too. It's like so many different pieces around campus that I think you started out saying that this office was created because there's just so much innovation and so many good things happening that you get to a point where you're sort of stumbling over yourself because you're doing so many good things. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So I think we are at 1 o'clock exactly. Thank you to the two of you, Michelle and Bill. We've given you, and Bryce will send out an email with the links so you can go explore this database, and of course use the Office of alumni relations to get in touch with these two, or through that database to get involved as alums, because we need you. So anything else, Bill and Michelle, that we want to?
No, I see we have someone who raised their hand. Should we?
Oh, Dave, if you can email us after, we're going to have to shut her down. But if you want to email just alumni relations at lehigh.edu with a question or comment, we'll get back to you right away.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're happy to discuss further with anyone. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about this and showcase a little bit of what we're doing.
Yeah, very exciting. All
Thank
right,
you all
have a
very
great
much.
rest of your week.
Great day.